Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. This is Carol Parisi. Today, our founder, Jack Roser, and myself have House Republican leader Tom Cross with us. And before break, we were talking about the Illinois pension crisis. This is the biggest problem. How many billions of dollars do we have in unfunded pensions right now?
I think most folks would say that understand money, and you've got a great guy with Bill Zettler that's written a fantastic book. Anywhere from 150 to 200 billion dollars, and there's various reasons for the cause, but the reality is we have a very, very big hole with respect to our pensions.
Well, during
now that he mentioned the book, we've had Zettler that has turned many articles he wrote. Zettler's employed by our Champion News group, and so Zettler has written a 301-page book on the pensions, and it's good reading. It's not dull. But Zettler has made himself really the statewide expert on pensions. He actually got onto the governor's committee on pensions. He was appointed up there by the Republican head of the Senate. And but anyway, Zettler is really the authority on this thing. And what impresses me a lot is Zettler had very good things to say about one of the solutions that you've offered about converting into 501c3, not C3, 401s.
401k.
401s.
Yes.
Yes. He thought that you had the best solution that's been offered down there.
Well, we think that's you need to transition to that, Jack and Carol, because that's what look. The pension systems have a hard time working in the old way because people are living longer. We just don't they financially don't work. The one way to do it, because people also move a lot. People are questioning whether our system will be there, as they want to look at a 401 type plan, and it makes some financial sense. So,
but that's only for new people that come in. It's not to go ahead and say the folks that are currently receiving pensions. There's different levels of pension reform that has been looked at under SB 12.
Well, we did Senate Bill 512 that I originally filed, and that was an alternative for not only new people, but also if you wanted to, you could stop where you were with what we call a defined benefit plan and go into a 401. It's what other states are doing. It makes some sense. The business community did it a long time ago because they knew that it had to happen.
Absolutely. Now, there's knocking door to door, talking to voters. There's something out there that I keep hearing on a consistent basis is that Republicans never funded pension. What is the truth on that? They clearly, the Democrats that I'm talking to, their leadership is telling them it's all the Republicans' fault.
You know what? And we can talk about the lies in this campaign in a minute on some mail pieces, but with respect to making pension payments in the middle 2000s, Mike Madigan and Rod Blagojevich teamed up.
Okay, now Mike Madigan and Rod Blagojevich, they Democrats.
They were Democrats.
Okay, these are not Republicans.
The Speaker of the House and the Governor, they teamed up to not make a pension payment. And when people didn't make pension payments, they did that because they didn't have the courage and the strength to cut the budget. So this freed up several $billion. At this time, freed up $3 billion. By not making a pension payment, they had $3 billion to go spend on other things. They weren't ready to make the tough decisions. Remember, Rod Blagojevich, the governor, and Mike Madigan worked together. Remember, Mike Madigan was Rod Blagojevich's campaign manager when he ran for governor the second time around. They teamed up on not making a pension payment. So the facts speak for themselves. It was an effort by the Speaker. No Republicans voted for that bill to not make a pension payment. Zero.
See, now
there's another level to the perfidy on that thing, because what you're saying is the God's truth, that those guys didn't make the payment. But how did they get to that position after, in 1970, they said the pensions can't be reduced? Well, what happened is, starting in 1996, the legislature took over the management of the teachers' pensions. And at that time, they passed back to the crazy unions that by then were running the school districts, because the superintendent of the school district is just a posing figure in a nice coat, because he doesn't run the school district at all. The union does with all that money. So what they did was, with his manipulation of the legislature, they made changes in the way the union people got credit for it, and they allowed the union at the local level to change things and pass increased pensions so that the legislature got the job of supplying more and more and more money year after year ever since 1996. They have run the legislature under Madigan to increase these crazy payments to where the system is entirely unworkable. Now, the average teacher thinks she's going to get a pension of about $60,000. Now, that's a lot of money compared to the $14,000 average that you get in Social Security. But big surprise, I don't think the teachers are a bit surprised. They aren't going to get it.
Oh, there's a lot of teachers that are
has
clearly
bankrupted the system
frightened.
that would have provided a decent pension.
Right.
This thing has been honky-tonked around with their favorites at the local and at the level of Springfield.
It's those
been
hardworking
manipulated
teachers that are going
year
to
by year.
suffer. They're going to suffer because eventually this thing's going to go bankrupt. And now, I guess the
The
question...
message being that you couldn't possibly pay all of the craziness in the way they jerk the pension system around at the local level and the state level. It never stayed anything like 1970. Zettler said that if pensions were managed at the level that was agreed on in 1970, we would have a surplus in the funds now. So that's how much this thing has been.
Think about this, whether it's pensions or taxes or unemployment, how many other states have had similar problems, but they fixed them because they've been willing to make the tough choices. Mitch Daniels, Scott Walker, Governor Christie. There's a blueprint to solve these problems.
You need lawmakers with the political will, but when you are pandering to the unions and the Democrats have been in control, there is no political will on the Democrat side because it's that incestuous behavior.
There's a tremendous will there, bought and paid for.
Well, it's the will that's not benefiting the will of the people and the taxpayers.
That's for sure.
Now, I am intrigued by this. This is the first I've heard that our indicted governor that is serving another term in the a different house on taxpayer dollars was Michael Madigan's campaign manager.
It was the other way around. Michael Madigan was Rod Blagojevich's campaign manager.
So that's interesting news. You learn something new every day. Blagojevich.
They partnered together on not making a pension payment. They partnered together on the governor's reelection campaign when he won the second time.
I think voters need to know that relationship between Michael Madigan and our former governor who's now indicted.
Well, see, that's one of the big problems is we've got Madigan and the media gives him cover. You don't see Mike Madigan very often, but he handpicks who's going to be governor. I tell you what, he loves Quinn. Quinn's the perfect patsy. He's the perfect guy. He's going to take all the lumps, all the weight, and Madigan is going to coast. This has been going on for a very, very long time. Everybody should know that Madigan is the kingmaker in Illinois.
Patsy Quinn. Okay, well, you know what? I want to hear a little bit more of some of the non-truths the Democrats are sending off to voters to distort what the reality and the facts are just to win elections.
Well, and it's hard to talk about your record if you're the Democrats because they raised taxes by 67%, the highest income tax
in the middle of the night.
In the history of the state, in the middle of the night.
Lame duck, right?
Worst funded pension system, highest unemployment rate in the Midwest, $9 billion in unpaid bills, an unbalanced budget, all under their watch. So what they've done is they've distorted. So, for instance, in all of the districts where there are contested races here throughout the state, there's, for instance, sending out mail pieces saying Bob Kalnicki, who's down in the Romeoville area, is going to take away your Medicare and Social Security. Now, we in the General Assembly have no control over Medicare, no control over Social Security, can't vote anything out, can't affect it, can't raise it, but they are playing to the fears of voters because they don't want to talk about the issues and outright distorting, lying, fabricating. It's disgusting.
It's pathetic. Well, you know what? That is desperate and pathetic political pandering from a place of fear, not from facts. You know, you were saying something before we got on the air about the Democrats want power over good policy. We've got about 30 seconds before we go to break. Can we have a quick closing thought on that? We could talk more about Democrats just wanting power over putting good public policy.
Well, when your only concern is to perpetuate your power and to keep it going over and above everything else, then it's impossible, as Jack said, when you've got to take care of the folks that supported you, then you can't address these issues in any meaningful way. And when all you care about is power, your state completely falls apart, as evidenced by what's going on now.
You know what, Speaker, what I would like to hear when we come back after the break are bold, bright Republican solutions to these issues as our voters vote Republican this November to save Illinois. We are going to hear more from Speaker Tom Cross when we come back after the break. Stay with us.